Alright, I'm starting the recording again. Welcome back, everyone, to Game 2, G2 versus Fnatic. I want to remind you that if you want to join me here to watch these live every Monday, I do VOD reviews. I'm going to see if I can keep doing them during the World Championship. But you can tune in every Monday, join the Twitch chat, ask enthralling questions such as what color is my wall and how high can I jump. In any case, let us jump straight into Game 2 draft after I take this swig of water. So if you've already watched Game 1, you'll know that Yasuo and Qiyana, they're going to be banned throughout the entire series. Yasuo banned directed at perks, Qiyana banned directed at caps. You can also jungle Qiyana. Qiyana's just a really strong champion. Fnatic make an adaptation this time, though, given that the Yuumi has been banned away. They decide to ban away the Sylas so that they can first pick the Rakan. G2 don't change anything outside of the Yuumi ban. They realize that Garen Yuumi, clearly too strong, they can't deal with it. Well, I don't know if that's the reason why they ban it, but in any case, they're like, okay, no more Yuumi, we don't want to have, no. Enough Yuumi, we'll stop. So they ban that one away. The Rakan is locked in for Fnatic, no surprise. And then G2 grab themselves the Akali once again, but of course this time they have to take the Xayah because the Rakan has already been locked in. So they're going to deny that one. Fnatic then prioritized the Gragas, which was something that was banned away by G2 in Game 1, and then the Twisted Fate is locked in once more, given it's a good matchup into the Akali at early levels. Now, the thing here is, we talked a little bit about this in the draft for Game 1, but Gragas provides a lot of AP damage that complements AD Twisted Fate very nice. This gives you a lot more freedom in what you can play up in the top lane. And so an early priority for it for Fnatic makes a lot of sense. And it's also not as early game focused as a champion like Elise is. It scales pretty well. And so it's a little bit more versatile as a jungler and also does very well into a lot of jungle matchups. Excuse me. Now, G2 round out their draft with Morgana. I think Morgana is a great pick into the Rakan. I also think it works very well against the likes of a Twisted Fate, given the single target CC. And I also think that the AP damage from Gragas, it can mitigate some of that, but it will be super easy for the Gragas to burst the shield. So, not the strongest pick into the Gragas, but definitely Rakan and Twisted Fate. And in terms of the 2v2, Xayah Morgana, very strong as well. So, moving into the second ban phase, Kai'Sa and Gangplank are banned. Gangplank is just a safe top laner for Fnatic to play, so they don't want to have to deal with it. And then Kai'Sa just pairs up very nicely with the Rakan. Skarner ban comes out from the side of Fnatic. This one does surprise me a little bit. Ooh, and the Poppy ban as well. I actually don't remember talking about that one, but Poppy makes more sense to me overall. I think Poppy's great into both Gragas and Rakan. And given that we see Fnatic want to lock in Renekton here, it is also a great pick into the Renekton. And we know that Wonder will play a pretty solid Poppy. So I think Poppy's really good. I like the Poppy ban quite a lot. Good awareness from Fnatic. The Skarner ban surprises me just a little bit. I'm not sure why they're so afraid of the Skarner, but I guess that it would be pretty easy to play around the Twisted Fate. I guess Skarner, Black Shield, Righteous Glory is really obnoxious to deal with, and it can also lock down a Rakan who tries to engage. And I guess they're afraid a little bit as well of the early skirmishing from the Skarner. So yep. Moving into the second phase of picks for G2, they first pick the Sejuani, no real surprises, provides them with a little bit more engage, gives them a couple more teamfight options, given that they have the Xayah, Morgana, Akali. So, yeah, pretty safe, pretty solid, makes a lot of sense. Fnatic then round their draft out with an Ezreal and a Renekton. So once again, you'll notice that Fnatic want to try and play through their top side of the map. They go for something a little bit safe in the bot side, but it does allow them to make plays. But the main thing is Rakan, and Hylissang's Rakan loves to roam. So by having Reckless play the Ezreal, it gives him the safety of playing in a potential 1 versus 2 without really risking himself getting dived. So yep. Then the Renekton blind pick with Aatrox banned away and Gangplank banned away. There aren't really that many safe picks left that you can pick into Renekton. So G2 decide to go for the Shen. This means that they can look to play around the bot side of the map. It's also a pretty solid answer into the Twisted Fate. And I actually think that Shen should be pretty solid into Renekton at early levels. But in terms of the actual gameplay, that's not actually what happened. So with G2, It's very easy for them to play around the bot side of the map. They also have a pretty strong 2 versus 2 mid with Sejuani and Akali. The setup plays onto the Twisted Fate as well. Their team fighting is pretty good, and their scaling is pretty strong. Given that they locked in the Shen, I think that they want to look to play more on silence as well. They do have the ability to play a split push map if they want to, but I think that you have it's a pretty well-rounded draft, I think is the best way to sum it up. The thing I always get scared of is Shen in team fights is that because of how single target damage he is, his impact can be relatively low, but depending on how you use the Spirit's Refuge can be a big swing factor in the actual outcome of a team fight. So that's why I'm sitting here thinking, like, is G2's 5v5 actually the strongest? Maybe not. But I would argue that it's probably a little bit stronger than Fnatic's. Now with Fnatic's comp, they have drafted something that I think they did a lot of during the regular season, which was really powerful roams that allow them to attack the side lanes. So if you assume that the Shen and the Akali want to sit in sides and just kind of like generate pressure, what's really good is that you can have a Rakan roam up through the lane and then a Twisted Fate ulti on top, and then that 1 versus 1 that Renekton finds himself in against the Akali ends up being a 3 versus 1. Which then allows the Fnatic to find a pick, and then they can convert that into an objective somewhere. Meanwhile, you just keep Ezreal mid lane just freely farming, and then you've also got the Gragas there for wave clear. So I think that Fnatic comp can team fight, but it's much better at finding picks, attacking side lanes, utilizing poke, rather than a full-blown 5 versus 5. So in terms of the early game, expectations are that Fnatic will once again look to play around top. Wouldn't be surprised to see Rakan look for roams, especially around level 6. At level 4, he'll probably look for roams around mid, just so that he can counter any potential G2 roams. But they want to try and attack the Shen. Meanwhile, for G2, I think that they'll want to either attack mid lane or attack the bot lane. Once Shen gets level 6, they'll want to try and look to utilize it to set up a dive. But if they can also get the Akali ahead and burn Summoner spells out from Twisted Fate, mitigate his roam potential, then G2's in a really good spot in the early game. So does anyone have any questions about the draft? Why doesn't Fnatic stick to the global plan? Well, mainly because the Gangplank is banned, and Gragas is an overall better pick than Nocturne is. Nocturne is a little one-dimensional, and you can't guarantee that same level of success that you had in the previous game. So I think that Gragas is just stronger, safer, more versatile as a champion, and I think it's fine. Also, like, Fnatic have a really strong lane, both top and mid. They should get the push early. So, like, Fnatic's pretty happy with this draft, if you're Fnatic. What's the best counter to global comps? Grouping and fighting. Is giving the lovers duo such a big problem? I mean, teams in Europe really think so, yes. They think that it's the strongest bot lane in the current meta. And it makes sense when you think about it, mainly because all the other AD carries keep getting nerfed. So like Sivir got nerfed. I think Tristana got nerfed as well. But a bunch of different champions have gotten nerfed recently. Whereas Xayah and Rakan have been left untouched. So they're just really strong right now. Is there a solution for Garen Yuumi bot? Yeah, hard camp it and snowball. It's hard, but it can be done. Upset's riding the Lucian train, yeah. Lucian's pretty solid. I think the problem with Lucian is he gets outscaled a little bit by Xayah later on. But Lucian's pretty solid. Isn't Vayne really good into Garen Yuumi? Vayne is good into Garen. I don't know if Vayne is good into Garen Yuumi. I've heard that Vayne hard counters Yuumi Garen. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment, I'm afraid. What's your opinion on Fnatic? Okay. So, that's the draft. If there aren't any other questions about the draft, then we'll just jump straight into the game. But isn't it better to give up Xayah Rakan and answer with Kate Morg? Maybe, but in Europe they really don't like Caitlyn because of you have to split the map when you're playing with a Caitlyn, which means you need to guarantee a strong jungle matchup, and like there are all these other variables that come into play. And also Caitlyn is a pretty easy lane to just hard camp, especially with a Rakan. So yeah, I don't think Europe really likes Caitlyn. Sonataric counters Yumi Garen. Why do you have to split the map with Kate? Basically, because Caitlyn is guaranteed to push lanes, you need jungle presence, and you need to deny the enemy jungler from playing towards the bot side of the map. So it's not that you need to force a split map, but it helps a lot when you can just allow your Caitlyn to take full advantage of what is her strongest point, which is her laning phase. So it's highly encouraged that you split the map, and if you don't, you need to make sure that your jungler is always playing around bot so that the Caitlyn doesn't fall behind in lane. Because if she does fall behind in lane, then her already weak mid game is made even worse. Now, obviously, she still has like solid mid game because of her traps and stuff, but the problem is, what's actually a strong AD carry right now is like AD casters. So the reason why Xayah is stronger than a Caitlyn at like in the mid game is because Xayah has like self peel, Xayah has a root, Xayah has burst, Xayah has an 8 attack speed steroid. There's like so much versatility, whereas Caitlyn's ultimate is like super useless and her Q is really easy to dodge. So the amount of additional damage that Xayah just gets from her abilities is something that Caitlyn doesn't have. But it's the same reason why Kai'Sa is considered strong and Lucian is considered strong, because champions that gain more damage from their abilities on top of just their basic attacks are really potent and powerful in the mid game. Whereas AD carries that only rely on their auto attacks, so like Ashe, Caitlyn, Sivir to a degree, typically have weak mid games, is the general idea. So usually you want to play around them as much as possible. Anyway, let's jump into the game. Grabs is going to say some things. He's going to be like, oh no, we messed up. A boo-hoo. Alright. So G2 put themselves in a position so that they can counter any potential Rakan invades. So like you can see, see, I'm so big brain. This is a common move from Rakan players where they W over the wall so that they can set up a flank for people like this Morgana here. Nothing too crazy happening at level 1. Sejuani looks like she's going to start topside. She can either do a full clear, or she can do topside and then base. But basically she wants to be around bot lane relatively early. And Gragas is going to start topside and look to play around top. So what we expected, Fnatic again want to play around the top side of the map in the early laning phase, whereas Fnatic want to play around bot. Once Caps hits level 6, G2 can once again look to play around the mid lane. But basically, it's all about who gets ahead first. So this is where Wonder basically kills himself. I don't know why I said basically, he does kill himself. So I think in this matchup you can't actually afford to trade against the Renekton until level 3. But it looks like he taunts in and then uses Q to get the bonus damage. But then of course Bwipo, this stun is like super powerful. You can see how much damage he does. Yep, and then he's just waiting for the shield to drop and then you flash Q. He needs level 3 because he needs Spirit's Refuge. The Refuge, the thing that blocks the basic attacks, is what's super strong in this matchup for the Shen. And so Wonder really messes up. So now, this is something that Endo is saying, now that the flash is burnt top and the wave is actually, I think, slowly pushing towards Bwipo. Yeah, I think it is. Broxah should actually look for a gank top. Pardon me. So as you can see, both junglers trading scuttles. So here, look, Wonder tries to go for this trade. Initially it looks good, and imagine if he had Spirit's Refuge. I keep calling it this. I don't even know if this is actually the name of the W. But if he had it, he would have traded better. So then Broxah ganks mid lane. He doesn't have enough damage to get the kill. So the problem with forcing this play is it's 2 summoners from mid and jungle. You can understand why Broxah thinks he gets the kill. If he'd waited a little bit longer on the Q, that may very well have done it. But I think he could have, to be fair. But yep, because they don't find that kill, that's the flash gone for Nemesis and Broxah. Which means Yankus is like, ooh, cash money, let's go. Where am I ganking? Top lane, mid lane, bot lane? Well, he doesn't need to gank bot lane right now, but he's like, I'm a gank, here we go. Because there's no summoner spells, remember? But then, of course, Renekton is kind of like, I'm a crocodile. But Broxah, I feel, should have ganked top. 100%. Caps has Prio, so Jankos feels safe. Top lane also has Prio. So Yanks is just like, I think I'm gonna take this for free. I think I'm gonna take this for free. Boo-doo-boo-doo-doo. Post gets an early base. So you can see, do you see the difference now? Now that he has Spirit's Refuge, how hard he's smashing this 1v1? I'm just saying. Wonder did indeed mess up. Yango's doing a great job of utilizing the pressure gain from his lanes though. Now Nemesis has no flash, just gets level 6. But it doesn't matter. And like, this is actually a really big deal. So bear in mind, at this point, this is really big for Fnatic, G2. Because now Nemesis' ability to roam is hampered by the fact that he doesn't have flash. This gives Caps way more freedom to actually threaten killing him in a 1 versus 1. As given that Caps is going to hit 6 soon as well, and Nemesis just died before Caps even used his ultimate, like, you can see how this is really bad situation. Because Nemesis now struggles to gain mid priority as easily as he was getting before. The fact that Wonder died sucks because he's behind in experience, which means that his level 6 comes in delayed. But ultimately, this early game setup is really good. And it's because Broxah tried to force this gank mid when they honestly didn't need to. I mean, like, you can either blame Broxah or Nemesis. You don't know at the end of the day who's calling it. But the flash stun came in from Nemesis, and then the flash happened after from Caps, but then Broxah flashed underneath the tower. And you can understand why he did it because of how low Caps was, but even if he successfully finds that kill, it's probably not worth it because of the early summoner burns, early summoner spell investment. Broxah should have instead invested his time into hard camping top lane, given that there was no flash on the Shen and the wave was actually pushing towards the Renekton. In my opinion, anyway. So like, you can see Caps is level 6 now. And then when Yankos gets 6, Nemesis is just going to keep dying. And it's way easier for Caps to look for roams now. Caps is like, yeah, I'm really happy. Meanwhile, bot lane going pretty well for Reckless and Hillsang. What's supposed to be a pushing lane, it was pushing early. You can just see, like, Nemesis getting obliterated. And the wave is pushing away from him. He's, like, really so... I remember this. And then this is where G2 throw it again, because... so, like, Wonder's playing really poorly in this laning phase. Caps nearly gets a kill here, I think. It's so close. In a 1 versus 2. But you can see like how much time is being wasted, and right now Fnatic is carrying through the early game because Reckless is popping off and Bwipo's popping off. Just well played by Reckless. A little else to say, to be honest. So this was the dive that we talked about. This is what we wanted to see from G2. They could have made this play earlier, but of course, lots of solo dying happened. But they shut down Reckless, deny him all this farm, and he doesn't have teleport. So now they go for Drake. And Shen can just TP back to top. Oh, they don't go for Drake. I think they could have forced the flash out of Mickey. Wonder now has armor boots, so he's even stronger in this 1v1 matchup. You also got to remember double kleptomancy on Fnatic means that the gold is actually pretty solid as well. Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy that Nemesis, even though he was so far behind, is actually staying relatively even in gold. So his flash is now back up, so he's in a slightly safer position. But so far it's not the end of the world for either team. Both scale okay. I expect to start seeing Hylissang roam soon. The proxy from Renekton. So they should go Drake now. Yep. Bwipo's just wasting G2's time. This is one way to trade for an objective. They almost also kill Caps. Yeah, and they do kill Caps. Yep. Bwipo plays that super well. The funniest thing is the Shen actually paths back towards top. If he had stayed mid, and then he starts coming back towards mid again. He didn't want to lose the farm top lane. Another great play by Fnatic, because ultimately this is way better for them, because by utilizing the pressure that Bwipo was generating, they were able to secure Drake. And then of course, Nemesis bases and then starts TPing in behind, but a really good binding from Mickey denies the engage from Hylissang, so he ends up then dying. They kill Mickey, but they root up Nemesis, and there should at least be 2 kills. So yeah, I think Fnatic tried a little too hard to force this play. I think they should have just reset, given the amount of HP that they had. Great binding though, really good binding. Mickey's just buying time. I think Wonder could have stunned. Does he use his taunt? Yeah, he does, that's why. He tries to taunt the Gragas. Right here, see? Oh, he successfully taunts the Gragas, I'm trolling. But Perks isn't hitting him, he's hitting the support. Oh me. Overall, kill trade in favor of G2, but Bwipo's been getting all these plates in top lane as well. So like at this point the game is getting a little messy. I think that was pretty greedy from Fnatic. But I also think that Mickey had a pretty weak laning phase. And Bwipo overextending. And then Perk's doing exactly the same thing. So like this is where you can sit there and go, well, this isn't the highest quality League of Legends, is it? People are literally just overextending everywhere. But at least Bwipo gets objectives. Bwipo is proxy farming and he gets his team a Drake. Bwipo overextends top, but he gets his team a tower. Meanwhile, Mickey dies 2 versus 2, and then Perks dies because he's overstays at a 2 versus 1. So that's pretty bad. Right now, I would not call this the highest quality of League of Legends. It is a little bit messy. Yeah, like, it really blew my mind how Nemesis was actually, like, ahead in gold. I thought that was crazy. Twisted Fate passive plus Kleptomancy. I completely forgot about the Twisted Fate passive. You just get gold. So, we hit 15 minutes. Let's now think about the game state. So, obviously Fnatic have the gold lead, but what does this actually mean? If we think about what they want to be doing, they want to be trying to force picks and play towards side lanes. Their comp is really good when it comes to poking, playing around objectives. They have a decent amount of mobility, but the big thing that they want to try and do is like attack Wonder and Caps, who are sitting on sides. Now they haven't opened up the map enough to do this yet, so they want to try and secure the bot tower and obviously the mid tower. Now the Rift Herald is currently sitting in G2's hands, and G2 look to be setting up to make a play for the mid tower. So if we think about what's going to happen over the next few minutes, this is what we can expect. G2 is probably going to utilize the Rift Herald mid, and then the pressure that they gain from mid lane, they're going to translate to bot in order to secure 2 outer towers relatively quickly. Fnatic will look to answer mid if they can. Meanwhile, Bwipo will be pushing out that top wave, and he will roam down from top down to mid himself. So in theory, if things go to plan, G2 will get 2 towers, Fnatic will get 1, and everything will be hunky-dory. Now, of course, that's not what's going to happen. Something is going to influence it or change, and that's what we're going to investigate. But I just want to give you an idea that G2 is likely looking to play around mid and bot tower right now to try and secure control over the bot side of the map, so then they can look to make a play for the next Drake. Because fighting for Drake is probably the best way to utilize their composition right now, given that they've hit level 11 on Caps. He has the Gunblade completed, and if they forced a 5v5 right now, there's a good chance that G2 can actually come out on top, depending on how Bwipo joins the fight. Fnatic, on the other hand, just want to open up the map more. They want to create more space for their for Hylissang to roam, and for Nemesis to set up flanks, while Bwipo generates pressure in a side. So that means these outer towers have to fall, which means that these teams are going to be looking to do that. And given the current map state, I believe these methods would be the best way in order to secure that. So I expect Bwipo to push top, come down to mid, and then have Fnatic threaten that mid tower. I expect G2 to use the Rift Herald, and then the pressure that's generated from threatening the mid tower, they'll use to rotate down towards bot and then secure that. Or at the very least gain bot vision to allow Caps to secure the tower. So here's the Rift Herald. You can see Bwipo pushes out top, starts rotating down. They decide to disengage and instead immediately head towards bot. Caps ends up securing that tower. So for G2, it goes as we expect. We thought that I thought that they might look to try and get some deeper vision in, which they do. And now Fnatic group mid, and they start threatening the mid tower because they know that 2 members of G2 are bot. So they threaten this tower now, but they get pushed away from it because Perks was able to get an earlier reset, I believe. Does he even reset? No, he doesn't. So the reason why I think doing things like that are important as well is because it gives you an indication of, is your thought process aligned with what the teams are thinking. And based on what we just saw, what I'm thinking is very similar to what the pro players are thinking. These are the objectives we want to play for. Given the current map state, this is how we're going to do it. Of course, the difference is they think about these things in a much shorter and faster time span than I do, because I have to pause it and actually think about it, right? But we're kind of similar in terms of what we're thinking, right? Which means that when the teams go for a play and it's different from what I'm thinking, either I'm wrong in my thinking or the team has made a mistake, which gives us an opportunity to criticize and find weaknesses or holes in the team. So Drake is now spawning in 1 minute and 26 seconds. This means that Fnatic, in their mind, probably want to gain control over the river so that they can either set up for it first and then look to start it themselves, or just have control over it and then use that as a means to secure the mid tower. G2 are forced to concede this prio, which means that over the next few minutes, what they're probably going to be doing is focusing on securing the top tower because it's the easiest objective, and then they'll utilize the Shen ultimate in order to force and engage. If they can get him to level 11 before the fight happens, that's the best case scenario for G2, because Wonder will then have a larger shield come out from the Shen. So of course they're zoned off. Reckless and Whipple can't quite get the mid tower. But of course, as you can see, Fnatic hold the river control. See, and then this is where I think Fnatic make a mistake. Because at this point, the dragon hasn't actually spawned. And you've just invested all your vision into getting the mid tower. But if we look at the positioning of Nemesis right now, he's pushing out, so you can't see, he's pushing out the bot wave. He likely wants to take another wave of farm, or he wants to ult in. But Reckless is still pushing out mid wave. Whereas G2 have sacrificed mid-wave in order to force their way into the river. And Bwipo is heading back towards top lane to catch that wave. And he doesn't have teleport. So in this situation, Broxer and Hylissang shouldn't just be lying and waiting to brush. They should be disengaging. They should be backing off. Instead, they end up getting caught. So that was a mistake from Fnatic. And now they concede priority around the bot river. Sorry, they concede mid-prio, which allows G2 to gain access to the river. So they can push that in. Zaya's going to get a very quick reset in before Drake starts. And then Wonder's going to... well, everyone from G2 is actually going to get a very quick reset in. You'll see them refreshing all their vision. Control wards will come out aplenty. And Wonder's going to stay top. Meanwhile, because of the reset, Fnatic can now gain access to mid once again, and they get to go into the river first. But all these wards have been put down. So G2 still have pretty solid information on what's going on. And so at this point, I was thinking G2 would actually fight for the Drake. But they don't. And I think the main reason here is because you can see Perks. He actually heads over to the Raptors, so he's not in a position to contest. And they're also afraid of the bot wave that's going on right now. So I think that this was a failing on G2. Like, I don't think that their resets were necessarily bad. But I think that they could have actually committed to fighting for this Drake. And I think it would have been a pretty good fight for G2 as well. So I'm surprised that they would concede this. Ultimately, it doesn't hurt them. It's just an advantage gained for Fnatic. So they now translate their mid-prio up towards top river in order to threaten that final outer tower. But of course, there's not a huge amount of pressure being put on. Oh no, so they have to catch that wave, which is what Rex is doing. But Hylissang and Broxer don't care about that. So they're going to immediately rotate top. And great utilization of the ultimate from Bwipo to clear out the wave. Fnatic then try to force a fight. Good ultimate. And good collapse. So I like this play from Fnatic. Because I don't think that... I hate using the term. But I don't think G2 have a big enough tempo advantage to be able to force this dive. They don't have real prio... they don't have a huge amount of threat on bot. And even though they've pushed into mid-wave, they don't have control over the enemy jungle, which means the Broxer and Hylissang can actually take a pretty aggressive route through their jungle without any risks of getting collapsed on. The Nemesis ultimate also gives insight into where everyone is, and you can see that G2 end up getting split apart. Good ultimate from Broxer to also lock both Wonder and Mickey against the wall. Means that they're able to find that quick pick. And then Bwipo can push out that wave. Now, what G2 do here that's pretty smart is they recognize that, hey, we need to get back to mid and gain prio so they can't threaten this mid tower. So you can now see, this is what I mean by like having jungle control. So this forces Fnatic to go the long way around. They have to go all the way around because G2 is sitting in this part. And Caps has also now caught Broxer out of position, so they force the flash out and even get the kill. So if we backtrack to this point, this is what I mean by G2 don't have the necessary vision in order to make this dive a reality. What G2 need to be doing is they need to be moving in through here and getting vision around wolves in order to force Fnatic to take the long way around. Now, does this mean that they can just kill Bwipo? No. But what it does mean is that they can set up to then siege onto this tower, and they deny more farm from Bwipo. Instead, G2 just make a beeline towards the tower, thinking that they can get there before Fnatic can. But of course, Nemesis can come in through ult, and these two aren't afraid to walk through their jungle because they have 2. And G2 haven't starved them out of the jungle either. So they can then go for this collapse. But then, of course, G2 do what they were, I say supposed to do. They then utilize this theory in order to zone Fnatic away from the mid tower. So because Fnatic had committed so many members up towards this half of the map, they then notice how 3 members of G2 move into the jungle, still grouped up, still safe, but they would be in a better position to fight right now. So Wonder just stays back so he can ult one of the 2. But they zone Brox out, and you can see he's now the one out of position because he doesn't take the safe route. He doesn't go the long way around. He tries to clear out this vision. And he ends up I mean, it also helps that Caps is playing Akali and is like super fucking mobile. Great block there from Wonder, but now they've overstepped. And like, the reality was that while this was a small mistake from Broxer, it's not such a big mistake that it can't be punished from the side of Fnatic, because Bwipo now gets the collapse and they're able to find this kill. So it ends up overall being a 2-for-1. Ultimately, I feel like that this sequence of play was well, that was a bit greedy from Caps, and we can see that G2 actually, in my opinion, this is what I would define as like skipping steps to a degree. They tried to force a play without setting it up properly. And here we see another overextension. So I would say that this game has ultimately become a lot messier. He's going to follow him along. So now G2 has really overstepped. So this starts with Bwipo overextending top. The rest of his team has no prio anywhere. But he's like, well, Nemesis is ultimate. Now if Reckless TP's in here as well, they're probably fine. But he doesn't. I'm not really sure why. Caps gets very close to being killed. At this point, G2 should just disengage, but they don't, because they're like, I have Shenot, you can keep going. But then, of course, at this point, Fnatic has rotated up, and they don't have a numbers advantage anymore, because Broxer and Reckless are all both here. Mickey's not in a position to assist, so he ends up going down. Then Hylissang dies, and then Wonder dies. And now this is a bit of a fiesta. People are just kind of killing each other left, right, and center. People are overextending when they shouldn't be. The game is devolving a little bit into chaos here. So this one I would call quite a messy game. Because, like, neither team are really playing for objectives now. And it's just both teams looking for picks because people are just overextending without proper map setup. I mean, you can understand why it happens. So this is where it gets big brain from Fnatic. Now, unfortunately, we don't get to see the setup. But basically, G2 don't have teleports on Caps or Perks anymore. Reckless, remember, didn't use his TP up towards top, and the wave was already pushing top in Fnatic's favor. Well, actually, it must have been because they reset. But Yankus ended up... Oh, fuck. I don't know what the game state was like. What happened? So who dies? So Yankus dies, right? And then Wonder also dies. So Yankus dies. Bwipo and Nemesis get back out onto the map first, which is important to note. So Perks goes back to mid lane, it looks like, and we'll push that one out. We don't get to see the setup, so I don't really know. But Nemesis pushes out top, and Caps is in bot lane. Which is the biggest thing, because they saw Caps use TP top. So Caps is bot, Morgana's base. Best hope G2 has is of a steal. But this is just really good awareness from Fnatic. And this is where they're like, alright, let's stop messing about now. Let's pay attention. And then Hylissang, good charm to prevent Jankos from getting into the pit. I think Jankos should have tried coming in from over the wall personally, but... Really good Baron from Fnatic. Just a really good punishment from G2. Oh, Wonder. He's going to die. Oh, okay. Nice. So again, you can see G2 is generally pretty good at trading objectives. They were able to get the tier 2 for the tier 2 top, which is good considering how bad of a situation they found themselves in. Caps also catches Reckless out of position. But ultimately, in what was a very chaotic game, Fnatic was able to find the window where they could force that Baron. And that was just a good Baron, good awareness. One poor lane assignment from G2, immediately punished by Fnatic. Shame we didn't get to see all the setup for it. Good binding. But like you can now see how strong their siege is. Even though Shen's sitting top, they have so much poke with Reckless and the Gragas. And they also have the threat of a poke landing. No. It's really easy for them to siege like this. Shen ultimate didn't come through either, which is unfortunate. He wasn't looking. Twisted Fate is also setting up the bot wave. This is what we talked about. The funny thing is, like, I don't think the game went the way in which either team wanted it to. We never saw G2 team fight around an objective. Most of the fights were actually just skirmishes, them trying to punish Fnatic for being overextended. Whereas Fnatic got a lot more skirmishes, but the bigger thing was after every skirmish that happened, Fnatic were converting it into some kind of an objective. You can see that they've gotten all the Drakes so far this game. They have a tower advantage, and they had more of one earlier, and they played better around the Baron. So, like, G2 have been fighting, and they've been matching Fnatic, but Fnatic have been playing the map better overall. And they've been using their time better. Which is ultimately why they're in this position now. Now, the game's not over. If G2 can find a really good fight, then they can still win. Yeah, just getting forced out here. Good binding. Good pick. This is the fight that I was just talking about. They don't convert it into a huge amount. The disengage from Fnatic is solid enough. But Fnatic will now, you know, reclaim some control over the map. They can push out their side waves and get a good reset off. Gain some control around the river. Set up for the next Baron. This is the fight that I was talking about, though. Bit of a misposition there from Fnatic. This game is definitely a lot messier. I feel like neither team has really played towards what they wanted to do. Mainly because, like, ever since solo kills happened in laning phase, the game ultimately just got a bit messy. It's just been like overextension after overextension. One team tries to punish the other for overextending, but ultimately it's been G2 Fnatic that have come out on top every time. So now Fnatic, they have bot pushing and top pushing. Slowly, but they are pushing. So that's why they've grouped up mid. Again, if G2 can find a really good fight, then they can still win. Good binding. The Sejuani ultimate was forced out defensively, and the Zyra ult. So Fnatic's like, yeah, we're good. Now they can just force Baron, probably. Or they should force Baron, because like bot wave's being threatened. G2 playing side lane pretty well right now. So Fnatic maintains control over top river. Resets come through. TP comes out from Ezreal. This is when you'd often hear Frost talk about cheating prio. Gold is very even. The Shen's behind, but that's not the end of the world. Fnatic's gold lead right now comes from the difference between junglers and supports, which is pretty much nothing, so the gold is dead even. Surprisingly close game. Alright, Fnatic will just start Baron now. Force a TP out from Caps. He should TP in. He's going to go base first. Oh, that's giga bad. Because Caps dies immediately, doesn't he? Yep. And then Fnatic chase them down. Yeah, without Caps to threaten the backline, G2's team fighting just falls apart. G2 played that Baron really poorly. Fnatic played it way better than they did. So I think the teleport should have come out sooner, but I also think it should have come onto one of like these wards on the side of G2, but they immediately went onto the back line. Whereas Jankos goes in really early. Of course, he doesn't have vision of Baron, but he should be able to see them there, and he can see the Broxers there, right? I guess he wants to go in and just engage on the ult. Then the TP doesn't come through. So he then flashes back out, and then the TP comes through. I think Caps was literally just waiting for his death cap. So he bases. He doesn't have death cap yet. Still doesn't have death cap. Jankos goes in a little too early. Yeah, the communication here is a little all over the place for G2. Fnatic is way more prepared. Bwipo immediately dives onto the front line. It keeps them busy. But he's just stalling, which is fine. Because like he has GA, whereas Caps doesn't. He doesn't even get a chance to get the Shroud off. Because of course the Twisted Fate ultimate is there as well. Perks tries to go beast mode, but it's not enough. Then gets knocked up because he doesn't have flash. Wait, does he just flash in place? Yeah, he does. Yep. Great team fight from Fnatic. They played that way better than G2. Great call, Vedius. Definitely a messier game in game 2. I feel like we didn't really get to see either team utilize the strength of their comps. G2 definitely never really found a good team fight with their comp either. Outside of the one dive bot, we never really saw G2 utilize the Shen super effectively. And overall, there was a lot of overstepping from both teams. There was a lot of greed. There was just a lot of skirmishes that didn't really result in a lot. But it felt like that after each play, Fnatic was just reacting better than G2 was. Fnatic had a much better sense of what they could and couldn't do. So like the Barons, the Dragons. Ultimately, I think this game was down to G2 didn't really play towards what their comp wanted to do. Individually, they made a lot of mistakes. And Fnatic punished them, rightly so. And then that final team fight, it just felt like there was a communication issue. I don't really know what happened. But Jankos went in, TP didn't come through. So yeah, that was probably, I think, one of the worst games of the series from both teams overall. I don't think it was horrendous in the sense of like, this is the worst League of Legends I've ever seen. It was just like, the quality bar, like, compared to game 1, the quality bar dropped. This was definitely a worse game in terms of the quality of League. Fnatic played much better in game 1. G2 also played much better in game 1. Individually, they still made mistakes, right? But as a team, I felt like that they were still playing towards things that made sense. Whereas this time, I felt a couple times G2 had a couple options that they didn't try to take advantage of. They overextended on the plays that they did want to make. And overall, in the team fights, they played worse than Fnatic did. So, props to Fnatic. They're now in a position to win the series. So that's going to do it for game 2. Going to take another quick break and then rejoin us for game number 3.